Hi, beautiful people. Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys are doing well. Without a Crystal Ball is back and going live on her TikTok, begging people to let her know what happened during her absence. She gave so many reasons as to why she left or stopped covering the Gypsy Rose story. But because this is what she said in her live, I'm going to play these two clips. But first of all, she says this.
No, Fancy did not tell me to come on TikTok because of the drama. She said that the FOIAs had been released. And so there was like videos of like emails and that stuff. And so she was like, Katie, we've been working on this for such a long time. Like, you need to go check this out. It wasn't for drama. In fact, none of my communications with her were drama.
For years, Without a Crystal Ball and Fancy's relationship was drama. And since Fancy told her about the foias, why didn't Fancy fill her in on what has transpired during her absence? Because really, at the end of the day, Fancy is always part of the drama. She then gave this reasoning to someone named Nanny, who was also on her panel and who was once part of the so-called Petri train.
Look,
Okay, so the only reason I was back is because I got a message from Fancy about the FOIAs. And she just basically said, like, after all these years, people are starting to see and they're waking up and like other FOIAs came out, Katie, and like people are finally starting to believe us and you need to check this out. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, don't suck me back in.
right. Yeah. No, don't get sucked back in.
Because I don't want to be like, I don't want to be fighting with people. I don't want to be like.
Look, absolutely.
The only thing I've ever cared about is the truth.
The truth? Katie had the truth and she sold her soul, as per usual, for a story. To have an inside source, to be close to a story. She sold herself out and she knew the truth all along and instead bent backwards for Gypsy and Christy just to be in the know. She said Fancy messaged her about the foias and people are starting to believe them. Why would anyone believe Without a Crystal Ball? Watching and now knowing how she flipped and flopped so many times with how she sold herself out just for an inside scoop. Ignored the truth, covered up the truth, buried the truth. And for what? She is not in this for the truth, in my opinion. She is in it to keep her revenue coming in. Because as from my last video I did on Without a Crystal Ball, she is going to trial for her defamation lawsuit with 7M, Robertson, Miranda, and James Derrick. And as per her words, legal bills are going to climb up again. And since Sister Wives is on a hiatus, why not jump back on the Gypsy train? Something that she knows very well. And I assume she thinks it's easy money to make. Once again, it is all and only for the money. Before I go any further, I will be mentioning Becca Scoops and Woo Woo Bestie. I know the shit Woo Woo Bestie has done, and I know the drama that has been caused for Becca Scoops. I am merely pointing out what Katie Joy is doing. As I said, she was on TikTok trying to sell herself as being so credible. And as you heard her say, Fancy messaged her because of the foias that have been coming out. The foias have been coming out for months now. And if she is coming back now because of the foias, why not post about the foias, stuff regarding the foias? Instead, she made these posts a day after Nina spoke out against Becca Scoops. OMG, I knew it. I knew that she was talking out her ass. Without a Crystal Ball goes and doxes Becca Scoops. She has, on her Instagram alone, 160,000 followers. And if anyone wants to come and tell me that this is not doxing, it is absolutely doxing. It was Katie Joy definitely did this with malicious intent. She goes on to post stuff about Becca. She says, OMG, I knew it. Then she says, I knew something wasn't right with Becca Scoops. I knew it. Darn it. Do not suck me back into the gypsy world. I'm happier out here. Remember in the previous clip I showed you when she says Tsunani, how she told Fancy, oh, please don't suck me back in?
look.
Okay, so the only reason I was back is because I got a message from Fancy about the FOIAs. And she just basically said, like, after all these years, people are starting to see and they're waking up, and like other foias came out, Katie, and like people are finally starting to believe us, and you need to check this out. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, don't suck me back in.
Right. Yeah.
Why lie? Again, why make negative posts about Becca Scoops rather than making posts about the foias she was actually told about, since she said Fancy told her that people were starting to believe them? And the last time I checked, she was actually promoting Becca Scoops, but this is typical without a crystal ball. Knock someone else down to elevate herself. Then she also posted at GoodWivesNet, shared this on TikTok, but Gypsy texted me this last June. She got paid a ton while in prison, and they stuck it in trust funds in other people's names to conceal the fact that she profited of a crime. Like I said, Katie Joy is back too. TikTok. She was on there Friday and was begging for people to let her know what happened in the Gypsy community while she was gone. And no one had the information she needed, or not that they didn't want to release the information. On that live, she spoke whatever negative she knew about people. This time, she spoke about Woo Woo Bestie. Again, I know Woo Woo Bestie did some fucked up shit, but it does not give Katie Joy the right to go on her public platform and speak about her private life. She gave her first name. She spoke about what she did in her private life, how she doesn't or didn't have custody of her child. All that is totally fucked up on Katie Joy's part. Now she's in it. She's back. She posted this to her TikTok. It's come to my attention that the internet finally realizes that Gypsy Rose has been lying the whole time. I've been saying this for over a year. Glad to see some of you finally believe us. Now, someone please find me my moderator, Faith. Gypsy getting drunk and wasted immediately off parole is to be expected. She has untreated substance use disorder, and Ken has a serious drinking problem. The only reason she was sober was because of parole. Just hold on tight. Drunken fights, cop calls, and arrests will happen within a couple of months. Being a mother won't keep her sober. She doesn't care about her child. No shit, Sherlock. She shows a screenshot of a conversation between her and Gypsy Rose, which shows that Gypsy had $7,307.65 in the bank, explaining to Katie Joy what she pays and all that BS. Then Katie Joy shares this. And I know this is new for some of y'all. This is not new for anybody. Everybody knows about this. But at GoodWivesNet, and I told all of you last year that Gypsy is/was the sexual deviant and told Nicholas she would give him a daughter so he could R her at 13. Here is the transcript. We were telling the truth. She then goes on to post, I left TikTok in January for a reason. I was pulled into a situation that made me entirely uncomfortable, and I felt like some of the people involved did not have good intentions. I am not Team Didi or even Team Nicholas Goldajon. My job is to be neutral to present all sides of the story. I said from the beginning that I didn't care about the gossip or the fights between creators, and that stands to this day. I am not getting back into that drama. I'm back because she's off parole and I know exactly where this is headed. Do you, Katie Joy? Who was your source? Or you know because you were once Gypsy's fixer, but we do know, as you disclosed, that you were brought on board to be her mentor. Newsflash, Katie Joy. It seems she wasn't even sober during her parole. So maybe you should have a little powwow with your ally Fancy so she can actually catch you up with all that you did miss while speaking from behind the bushes. You say that her being a mum won't keep her sober, but when you were in the fold on Gypsy's side, didn't you post this? Gypsy Rose Blanchard is pregnant. Gypsy is expecting her first child with her boyfriend Ken Urker. The baby is due January 2025. Check my new video on YouTube for all the details. At Gypsy Rose Blanchard Insta. I keep secrets. Congratulations, Gypsy and Ken. You sure were keeping secrets, and you had to keep secrets to stay in the fold. You sold your soul. And for what? CLOUT. And not long after that, Katie made this post. Gypsy isn't pregnant. Prove me wrong. Don't you get tired of flip-flopping? You claim to be this journalist. Maybe you should act like one. You're an adult. Act like one. She then goes on to post, last year I cut ties with Christy Blanchard. I openly spoke up and told people Rod and Christy Blanchard were selling a false story about the murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. I provided proof and evidence. I told everyone. Christy told me that she physically assaulted Gypsy because she hired a crisis PR and her defense attorney Mike Stanfield as a manager. Christy was furious that Gypsy was spending her money. She bragged to me that she whooped Gypsy upside the head. In a separate incident, she chased Gypsy into the shed and hit her. All because Gypsy's behavior was unraveling. The lie they sold to the public, a lie that without a crystal ball herself also stood by until she was kicked out of the fold. Tonight, emails sent to and from Gypsy in prison proved Rod and Christy were behind the show. Books and non-stop interviews because, as Rod said, we need the $10,000. Rod also openly wrote to Gypsy about cheating on Christy, calling Christy unattractive, lazy, and overweight. Then guilting Gypsy to do more books and shows so they could make money. He also told Gypsy that Dee Dee loved Gypsy more than anyone else and admitted he was a terrible dad that didn't want to deal with the special needs child. I wasn't lying. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, yes, you lied. You absolutely lied for Christy and Gypsy. Let's be clear about something. Without a crystal ball, aka Katie Joy, only spoke up when she felt that she was betrayed about Gypsy's meeting with Kim K, and she lost her shit. She made these posts announcing how she can no longer support them, and also made the long post stating after 5 years of standing by them and knowing Gypsy was profiting off the murder of her mum, trust funds were being set up, their quest for fame, and how she knew Gypsy was leaking stuff to the tabloids. You guys can pause to read this post in its entirety because this post is now gone. Because after Without a Crystal Ball made up with Gypsy and Christy, as you can see, she even posted that she had a 3-hour meeting the day after she made these posts. And she announced that she has now archived these posts because everything was all well and good with her, Gypsy, and Christy. Oh, one more thing. When Katie Joy was live recently on a TikTok, she also mentioned that during their 3-hour live, how she cried to Gypsy when she said on the phone to Gypsy, telling Gypsy that she couldn't believe that she made these posts. For 5.5 years, Without a Crystal Ball was friends with Christy, and when she finally started spilling the beans, after she wasn't getting her way, then and only then started digging into their personal lives. She revealed Rod's criminal history, how they neglected Gypsy, and how Christy was a drunk and a pill popper, and that they were both cheaters. Nothing like what we are finding out from the newest foias. So, Without a Crystal Ball can take several seats because she was covering their con for 5.5 years. In this next clip that you're about to hear, this is how Katie Joy manipulates her audience, how she cons them, how she lies and tries to make herself seem as though she is so credible. Just listen to this clip.
I don't do true crime per se. I just cover like whatever's my interest of the day. I've had covered the Gypsy story since 2018 actually.
I could only find her talking about Gypsy from 2019, and she was all over the place. One video she was for Gypsy, the next she was against Gypsy. When she finally got a sit down with Fancy Maselli and Brandy, because Katie Joy thought that Fancy Maselli was still a spokesperson for the Blanchards, and she suddenly found out that Fancy Maselli was no longer a spokesperson for the Blanchards. This was the infamous video where she said her son could be manipulated into murder because of his autism.
Well, she murdered her mom.
Well, I think they played up on Nick's autism and made him look way more innocent than he is.
He is absolutely developmentally delayed and should not be in prison.
Not as much as people think.
Not as much as people think.
That is really, the specialists have all contradicted themselves. When you read emails that he does, he is intelligent.
But that doesn't, you can be intelligent and autistic.
Yeah, no, autistic, absolutely. No, not the same, no.
But he's not developmentally slow in any means, no.
But autism is considered a developmental disability.
It's considered a neurological disability.
No, it affects all aspects of development. My son is autistic, so.
Okay, do you believe that your son could be manipulated into murdering somebody?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Why? And where is your son at on the spectrum?
He's high functioning.
He's high functioning. Why do you think that could happen?
Because they're vulnerable.
Because you're actually the first one that we've talked to that has said that.
I think anyone that has autism can be manipulated because they're vulnerable.
Have you seen his actual text messages and his words?
Nick's?
Yes.
Not all of them, no.
Yeah, they're pretty scary.
He's very much a manipulator all on his own.
Well, no, I'm not saying he also has like some sort of psychosis or something, doesn't he?
He doesn't have DID. He doesn't have any of the things that he claims. Is he definitely got mental problems? Absolutely. Do we know what they are? No, we don't.
After that interview, she got in contact with Christy, and that was when she achieved her goal of getting close to the story. She sold them out in June of 2024. She spilled some secrets. They took her back into the fold, and then she tried to prove her loyalty. She went on and did an Instagram live, and again putting herself on a pedestal saying this.
Hello, friends. I have an update. I'm going to classify this live in a new, you should just get used to this. Katie at Without a Crystal Ball was telling the truth and was accurate and reported correctly when it came to another individual that has been taking storm on social media and spreading a lot of misinformation about a certain woman that was released from prison after serving 8.5 years. Now, if you are familiar with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, you know that when she was released from prison, she was given a lot of attention and she got a lot of support from people. People were very much on her side and were like very much rooting for her. And then quickly, within the span of a couple months, people started turning on her. A lot of those people were referring to a creator that went by the Good Wives Network. I put on a post like when she was first released to let the wider media know that April Johns, aka Fancy Maselli, was spreading misinformation about Gypsy's case and reporting details about her case that were not only inaccurate but completely defamatory. April was saying things like Gypsy made up everything about what happened to her. She was in on what happened to her. She contributed to what her mom did to her. She just used this as an excuse to get a better conviction. She didn't really have the issues. She's a scammer. She's a liar. She's a master manipulator, all of these things.
Wow, how the tables have turned. Fancy was correct in what Katie Joy said was defamatory and untrue. Yet, Katie Joy herself is now saying the same thing and is an ally to Fancy Maselli. That's how far up Christie's backside Katie Joy was, and also how she lied and disparaged people for Gypsy and the Blanchards. Katie Joy was never telling the truth. She was enabling and running with the con. She knew about the con they were running, and she helped them run that con. And for what? All for clout. So what is she doing now by coming out and saying that she told us this and she told us that? No. How much damage did Katie Joy cause along the way? She went after people like Flawless Nina. She went after Fancy. She held secrets for Christy. Example, when Fancy was supposed to appear on News Nation, Katie Joy knew about how they manipulated that situation. She shared the emails after the fact. Katie Joy did so much fucked up shit, and you can still find a lot of the fucked up shit on Instagram. Her coming back and claiming that she is all for the truth and claiming to have the right intentions. No, it's all for easy money. Again, as she said, her legal bills are climbing. I will have a latest TikTok up shortly after this video, and you guys can tell me without telling me the grift is real. Do your due diligence, people, on who you follow, and without a crystal ball is dangling this carrot under the guise of she was so close to Gypsy and the Blanchards. She was close, but close with running the scam and enabling the scammers. So that's all I have for now. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comment section. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to watch this video. Have a safe and wonderful rest of your week. Please be safe out there, be kind to one another, and don't forget to make good memories. Bye, guys.